It's another episode of the DNVR Rapids Podcast, and we are live from the Toyota Lounge here at DNVR, presented by your Front Range Toyota stores. I'm your host, Mitchell Carroll, and I'm joined by the fellas, including Yahir Vazquez, the voice of Mexico.
It's Yahir Vazquez, la voz de México.
Sí. That's what I said.
Arre.
Also joining us, of course, downtown Duane Brown.
The voice of Aurora, Colorado.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't think that's true at all.
might be a little more yaya.
There's a different demographic out there that I
Yes,
think.
correct.
In my neighborhood, I'm definitely not the voice of my neighborhood.
How's it going,
You're the
everybody?
voice of your house.
We got a fun little...
Not even sure that's true.
We got a fun little international break show for you today. We're going to get silly. It's already going off the rails. We got super producer Alyssa on the ones and twos helping us out. And, we kind of wanted to step back a little bit. Maybe kind of revisit some, I don't want to call them takes, right? But maybe like positions we had on players, DPs. How would you phrase this? Because it's not like we're like going back to our hot takes episode and saying, no, I didn't mean that.
No, this is, you know what this is? When you watch a series and you do a recap episode and they have like little flashbacks of things that happened like in the first part of the season.
Yes.
And Lauren McLaughlin is playing in the background.
Yeah,
I will remember. That's what this is today. We're just recapping our thoughts, kind of looking back as a whole what has happened so far, and kind of hitting on some main points throughout the season.
Sure. Yeah. We're also going to talk fixing the PIDs, rotation adjustments, maybe positions to target, et cetera, et cetera. And who knows what's going to happen in that third segment. It could be anything.
That third segment's going to be just us screaming goal celebrations in Spanish and who can have the best one.
Ooh.
That's the whole set. There's 20 minutes of that. Get ready.
It's just
I'm
20
not
minutes
gonna
of going goal. See how long each one of us can hold it.
Oh, I can go. I was built for this. Okay. Let's look at Chris Armas. Let's start there. Chris Armas. On this pod, we went live after that was announced. How'd we feel?
I will say, sign of maturity is looking at your mistakes and looking at your opinions and being able to change. And I feel like I'm very mature for that one reason. I've done a 180 on Chris Armas. Like, I did not think when he first got hired, I was very down on the hire. I was not expecting much from him. Honestly, I didn't think he'd survive this far into the season.
Wow.
If I'm completely honest. But he has proven me wrong. He has completely won me over.
Okay.
And I think he's the guy that can take this team to maybe not the glory, but at least to a successful season.
That's interesting because, I think people weren't necessarily concerned about the floor, right? Like, the floor was what last year was.
Exactly.
And what a lot of years have been, right? Like, we've seen the depths of despair, right? I think people were most concerned with the ceiling, which is how limited were we going to be by this hire? What was the best thing that could happen by hiring Chris Armas, right? Was it playoffs was the best hope we could have? Right? Was a road playoff game or even play-in game the best we could have? Could we even make the playoffs? I mean, that was a question. Right? Like, is this even going to be a playoff team ever with him?
Exactly.
Now
Honestly,
they are on the playoff line right now and trending down. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think a few weeks ago we were like, oh, yeah, this is the guy. We're locked in. Now, after
a month.
May, Duane, where's your head at? Do you still feel like you were
On Armas?
Yeah.
I mean, when Armas was hired, it was look at the resume, not be super excited about that. But like the move was made and he was hired, so I think I was first on board with like there's not really anything we can do about it, so let's get behind this guy and see what happens, give him a fair shake. And I think even with us slipping a couple positions after last week's loss, we're still above the playoff line. We're still already past where we were last year in terms of wins and goals scored, and we're not even halfway through the season yet. Now, given that's a low bar from last year, but still, to make that much of a turnaround is still something that you have to pay attention to and at least acknowledge. So I still think that we're in a much better place from a leadership perspective, from a vibes perspective, from a young player development perspective. I'll use Kevin Cabral as one of the examples for that. Ali Laraz, now being a consistent starter on the squad. I think we're in a much better position with Armas than we were without Armas. So I still think the club is in a much better spot because of that hire. The last couple results were not what we want. I certainly want more from that. But overall, if we're looking at the season thus far compared to the last two, I still think we're in pretty good shape, and maybe at the end of the season, if things keep going downhill, obviously we'll probably feel different, or if they stay the same or get better, then that's another fun conversation.
Sure. Yeah, look, you're right. They've already scored basically as many goals as last year. They've won
more
as much as last year. They've scored more.
Yeah, we've passed wins and goals.
So, so I guess that kind of brings up like a more of like a philosophical big picture question is like, at what point can you ride that as a like, that's so much better than it was versus how much better do you want the team to be?
I think,
you know what I mean? Like, where's the line of complaining versus appreciating versus, you know what I mean? Like, what's the...
I think it's a year, man. It has to be the year. First year head coach with a team that was this bad, probably the worst in the MLS. Even how you saw it, because they weren't scoring goals, even worse than Toronto, in my opinion, worse than anybody in the East. And you have to give them that whole year for the one reason that you see it also in Europe. You don't just see it in the U.S. Like, the first year is so hard to just kind of get tactics in place, get things that you need, kind of cement the culture of what you want from your team. It takes a while. It's not one day to another. And that's what makes it so nice that you get such positive early returns. It's not perfect. It was never going to be perfect. But you're already in a playoff spot. You've scored way more goals. There's things to clean up, of course. But at the end of the day, you got to be encouraged by what you've seen.
Right.
There was going to be a slip-up eventually. None of us thought that this was going to be a thing that lasted all year long. We hoped for it. But there was going to, with players being rotated in and out, injuries going to play a part, international breaks. Hopefully, like, we get more people into these national teams. We always figured that there was going to be a spot where there was going to be a lull. They hit it. Now it's just, can they recover, come back, and actually have a good rest of the second half?
Right. And do you think Armas, and I guess this will be get more into the second conversation, right? But with Armas, it's like, tactically, can he now make the adjustments that have to happen? Because it did work for now. But when you're trending in the wrong direction, can you pull the right strings? Are there even the right strings available to be pulled is maybe even a bigger question.
Yeah.
Right? Is like, do we need to fix that part of it? Right?
And it's also, what strings are you pulling? Is it a front office string? Like, do you have to bring in more players for the depth?
Right.
Do you have to work on what you're doing tactically? Is it a philosophy of how you come in and try to talk to the players? Because a lot of these have been mental lapses. It hasn't just been they played bad. It's been they're ahead and then they just kind of forget how to play soccer for 20 minutes and then they're back to the drawing room. Like, at what point, what kind of strings are you pulling? Is it a coach one or is it a front office one?
Right. You know, our guy Wanners in the Toyota chat presented by the 2024 4Runner brings up that he's been more discouraged by Armas. And I got to say, like, I think expectation-wise from pure coaching, right, like the game happening coaching, I think it's about where I expected, right? I didn't expect a masterclass of tactics and, you know, I didn't expect MLS Pep, right? Like,
yeah, of course. Nobody did.
And that's just being honest. Like, and I think he's pretty much shown that. I think there's been some very good game plans. I think there's been some games where it very clearly worked. LAFC, NYCFC are probably the two that stick out the most to me. And honestly, even this last game with the rotated squad still, script-wise, went mostly their way. minus, conceding and not scoring. But that's not new in Commerce City, Colorado. But the things that you don't see, right, unless you're going to training and talking to the guys, is truly where I am so impressed with what he's done. Because, man, especially Cole Bassett was not having a good time. No one was having a good time, right? But Cole was the one who was talking to media and being available and was clearly frustrated. And, I mean, as anyone should be, that was one of the worst seasons we've had to ever sit through. But it's night and day there, man. And that's an Armas thing. That is Armas coming in and going from the top down, making sure every department, right, whether it's equipment or medical or scouting or video or anyone, is bought in and all going in the same direction.
Yeah.
And that to me is amazing.
And it's also part of, he has some good things under him already. Some reclamation projects. I hate to call them that because they're players and they're humans. But you look at Kevin Cabral. Dude has been playing a lot better under Chris Armas. Even from the start of the season, he has way more goal contributions than he had last year already. This is a guy that has shown up under Chris Armas. This is a guy that has clearly understood the philosophy, has bought in, and is playing probably his best footballs until he was in France.
Yeah.
Then you have guys like Rafa, who was here for 10 games last year. Did nothing except for 1 goal and an assist, right? I think that's all he had. And already he's 5th in the scoring list or something like that. He has 10 goal contributions. That's incredible. Those are 2 guys that, just looking at them, we've completely shifted on because of what he's done with them and the way that he's gotten them to buy in into what he's selling. And the team has been better because of it. And that's something we can't discredit. As much as I would like to see more from him as a coach, there are a lot of positives. And with more time, I think it's either going to become stale or he's going to adjust and make this team into a really good team.
9 goals, 3 assists for Rafa so far. 12 goal contributions. It's pretty good.
12.
Yeah. Math's tough. It's okay. Yeah. That's not, Chicho's at 25. That's insane.
Chicho's also having a Carlos Vela type year right now.
Crazy. He's having a renaissance year right now.
Yeah. All right. I think that's enough for Armas. Let's talk about. Oof. This is the one where we're gonna have to eat some crow, guys. Mm-hmm. Zack Steffen.
I don't think Duane Brown has to.
That's me eating crow.
We were sitting here. We were getting out of pocket.
Yeah.
We were getting out of pocket.
Top 5 keeper.
We were ready, bro.
Yeah.
And I guess there was a reason he was free. That's been this month. Preventable goals, hesitation. I think that's kind of the word, and you never want that with your keeper. You never want hesitant. You want decisive, aggressive. He's not, and it's hesitant in that he seems frozen on what decision to make. Right? You look at that first goal coming out of the half against Vancouver. It was just a cross into the 6-yard box. You got to get hands on that. You don't let that find a defender or an attacker, right? It wasn't like he was out of position to play it. And the next one was just sloppy keeping.
Yeah.
And I think that trend has been now about a month long.
I would say San Jose is the flashpoint for a lot of this.
Just easy goals, man. Easy goals. Go ahead, Duane.
Yeah, Duane's the one that was on this
Duane
before
so
anybody
mad.
else, so I won't let him cook. He deserves it.
I'm not gonna cook all that much. It was because I've been on the Steffen roller coaster as well. When he came in, I mean, you all know I'm not a big stats guy. I don't really enjoy stats all that much, though they're relevant and necessary for sure. I went down the rabbit hole of goalkeeping stats, and we talked about, at the beginning of the season, Steffen's stats were not that good, and where he ranked was not very high. Even when, before he went to Europe, when he was still in MLS, the perception versus the actual stats did not match up. So I had worries there at the beginning, but then he had a couple of really good games and some pretty big saves, and I was all in. And then, the last couple of games, now we're coming down off of that high hill on the roller coaster. With Saturday, being the bottom of one of those hills. What you're saying with the hesitancy and stuff like that, Mitch, lines up with where those stats were. Yeah. If you go back and watch that episode from the beginning, when I went through some of that, it's starting to match up with what was predicted. So it's worrisome. I think Wanners had said earlier in the chat, it's kind of like the Yarby mistakes, but the costs are a lot higher, which I think is a really strong point. I'm not going to put it all on Steffen. I mean, Saturday was kind of a Steffen match. But when you look at, 13 goals in 4 games, that's more than just your keeper. But a lot of that does fall on the keeper, as the last line of defense. So it's certainly something to be concerned about at this point. And we do have a good goalkeeper coach here in Colorado, and hopefully that's something that is that gets worked on and starts to develop. Worst case scenario, maybe Beaudry shows up earlier than we all expected. Or if Steffen needs a break, if it's something mental going on, or where he just needs just to chill or refocus, or however that stuff works in sports with goalkeepers, then we have a competent backup that would be cool to see get a start too. So we'll see.
Look, Sharpie's a great coach. Like, for sure.
Yeah, I would go as far as say, without having any knowledge of any other goalkeeper coach in the league, he is the best goalkeeper coach in the league.
Yeah. And look, maybe there's some habits that he's breaking down, and in the process of building back up. We don't know that stuff. We never will. I mean, unless I get a one-on-one with Sharpie for an hour where I can just pick his brain, and an honest one, where they're not going to, they're never going to tell us what he's doing wrong or, to fix, to do right. Specifically, technique-wise, individual little moments, right? So maybe there's something there. I imagine it gets better. And I don't know why. But I still feel like it's going to be better than it has been for this last few weeks.
And I think one of the reasons you might feel like that is because Crash in the comments even said, feels like Steffen's trying to do more than he has to at times.
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of the processing speed when in real game, that he's thinking too much. If he just simples things down, it's like, all I'm doing is goalkeeping, all I'm doing is trying to not let this goal get by me instead of trying to do all this little extra stuff, it might be a lot easier for him. Yeah. It might just be like, hey, I'm just going to be a shot stopper for the next 90 minutes, and that's all that matters. I do not care about the passes. I'm launching it deep. Screw build out from the back. We're just going to try to be a shot stopper.
Yeah.
Honestly, and this note, like, I'm not trying to take a dig at you. He feels a little bit of Onana. Onana-esque, where he can have a great game. He'll give you that game.
Yes.
And then immediately comes back and gives you a stinker where, yeah, his passing is great, but then...
Dude, every other game with Onana, you're like,
what
damn,
was that?
I get it. This guy's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, and that's just comparing him to like a top-level goalkeeper, right? In the top league in the world, which, unfair, but it is a very like similar comparison where it's a guy that it feels like they're just thinking too much. They're trying to do too much in the moment.
Like even that goal, I mean, and this makes me think about it. That goal in the FA Cup final that he gave up, he was diving to that post and was clearly scared of running into that post. So he gets his hands on it, but not enough, and just pushes it into the goal. Because you see the hesitancy. My guy, throw yourself into that post. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's not going to kill you.
And honestly...
just go for it. And that's the same thing about the goal by Berhalter. Just throw yourself into that ball.
And honestly, man, and it is a lot of that with goalkeepers. It's a very mental game of, can I just be in the right spot? Can I get in that? Can I just get my hand on it? I just need enough to get it out of the goal.
Yeah.
And it feels like he's thinking about other things.
Yeah.
He's thinking about where the rest of the players are instead of just focusing on his job at times. And this is me reading between the lines when I see a game. I have no insight of what's going on. But once you simple that down, once you're like, all I have to do is get a hand on it. All I have to do is be a shot stopper. Screw the rest of my obligations for the next 90 minutes. That's all you really need. And honestly, man, a lot of these guys go through a lot of personal stuff too. They might not be in the right mindset for whatever reason. They're adjusting to a new club. They're adjusting to back being in the U.S. and stuff like that. And it does have a play in it, but that's not an excuse for him giving up the goals he has. At the end of the day, he just needs to be better because you do have a young guy in Adam Beaudry knocking on the door that he wants those minutes. He's begging for those minutes. And at the end of the year, if things don't work out, it might be the Beaudry show. It might be my hot take if Beaudry takes over at the end of the year might come true.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, man. He's making double what Dane St. Clair is making. Making $100,000 more than Andre Blake. And you're not getting close to the production of either one of those guys.
Yeah.
So, got to be better. We'll get into some DP talk here in just a second on the other side. But first, we're going to talk about some friends, and it's our friends at Toyota, man. We love Toyota. We love them so much, we made them the official vehicle of DNVR. Look, trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA. For generations, Toyota has built durable legends, destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado. Whether you're conquering off-road trails or hauling your ass out to Commerce City for a U.S. women's national team game and tailgate, there's a truck that's right for you. Like the all-new 2024 Tacoma and the return of the iconic 2024 Land Cruiser coming this spring. Toyota offers 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive like the 4Runner. Toyota also offers more low and zero emission vehicles combined than any other automaker to give customers numerous choices to reduce their carbon footprint. And they have 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max Hybrid truck. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota, Eastern Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of Colorado Rapids and the official vehicle of DNVR. We are also brought to you by our good friends at Lavello Construction. Lavello Construction specializes in all things roofs, gutters, siding, and paint for your home here in the Front Range. That hailstorm was crazy.
What was the baseball-sized
Baseball-sized hail. You might need some work on your house done. That happens. We live in an area where this happens. I think hail took out your roof not too long ago, Duane.
Last year.
Yep. And I bet you wish you had Lavello in your life at that point.
Yeah, I will definitely wish I had gone with them. So,
Duane's been going through it lately.
I've been going through it with the roof.
Yeah.
With the roof because
Lavello
of it.
can help you out. It's a women-owned and operated company with over 17 years of experience. When storms strike and your home faces the aftermath, call or text Lavello to schedule an appointment. Just like the Rapids on the pitch, they bring experience, precision, and winning spirit to restoring your home's exterior to better than it was before. They understand the complexities of navigating insurance claims after storm damage, and are there to make the process as smooth as a well-executed play. From assessing the damage to working with your insurance provider, they are there to help. They also have experience working as insurance adjusters, so who better to understand the process and know what to look for? With Lavello Construction by your side, you can rest easy knowing that seasoned professionals are championing your cause. Let them help you rebuild and restore your home with confidence. Just scan the QR code below. Duane was just pointing at it. Look at that. It's right there, right? Right there.
Very robotic of Duane.
Right there. Scan the QR code below or call 303-578-8551 to get your quote in under a minute and tackle those claims together. Go Rapids from your friends at Lavello Construction. Shout out. We are back. DNVR Rapids. Yaya, Duane, Alyssa, Mitch, holding it down.
It's harder to do than people think.
What?
Point at things on the.
It is. It's
on
not
the
easy.
screen
I never get it
from
right
here.
ever. Literally ever.
We have the hardest
I
job in
always
the
get it
world.
back.
This is
backwards.
very hard.
It's not hard.
It's so hard.
It should be so much easier, but it's hard to point to things.
The mirror effect really messes with you.
That's why I look like such an idiot. I'm concentrating so hard. Where do I move my hand to
I
point to
want
the
to
QR
be
code?
completely fair. I look like an idiot no matter what I'm
That's
doing.
true.
Fair.
That's a
Fair.
tough mask to take off, my boy.
Yeah, to me that like
I have resting dum face.
rusting dum face. Almost start calling my wife that.
That would be a dumb move to
That
do.
would be
Screw it, but it's gonna be
proving the
funny.
point. Okay, let's keep going on this segment. DPs. I think Georgi Mihailovic, let's start there. Club record signing. Took 5 games to get on the score sheet. We were all pretty nervous for those 5 games. 4 games. The 5th game we were very happy. That included the Seattle missed penalty. Duane had a lot of choice words for our boy.
It's true.
Things we said on the show, worse things we said in the chat. I'm just kidding. Well, maybe. And then
I stand by that.
he's now on a run of 11 goals. 11 goal contributions in 11 games. Sign me up. Worth every penny. He's been amazing.
Man, like, if I had to rank the DPs, I think it's a little bit harder because I think as of late they've all kind of reached a similar level. With I think Kevin Cabral being absolutely like the third one out of the 3.
Okay, fair enough.
But like even then, like if you there's a world where you can talk me into Kevin Cabral being number 2 on that list.
Quick shout out to our boy. Is that Skeeler? Is that right? Skeeter. Oh, yeah.
Skeet.
It's right in the white line of the scarf, so I couldn't really read. Skeeter, what's up, DNVR? I'm from CHGO. Digital-based media content is the future. Absolutely love the daily content and live streams. Shout out to the homies at CHGO. They're doing great stuff over there. Thanks for tuning in. You're right. Cabral's definitely down here. And Georgie and Rafa, and that's maybe the conversation more than just talking about one or the other. You have 2 DPs doing DP things for the first time in 3 years.
Since Tim Howard.
Maybe
That's
longer.
what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's almost a
That was
decade.
the last time I think people were happy with ADP.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
about
this
the-
is like
Doing DP things
for
right
as
out
much-
of the gate.
Nam
Right out of
wasn't
the
it
gate.
for sure.
Yeah.
right. So for as much as criticism, flack, questioning front office has deserved for decision making over that time, they got these 2 right. Right, and Rafa took a while, and even that whole time we were like, man, he's doing so many good things, right? Like we were seeing the process and weren't seeing the finishing result, but we were happy with what he was doing. And we're like, man, if they figure this out, he's going to be great. Turns out he's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You're right. Scored in 5 straight. He's tied for. I gotta find it now. He's at 9 goals. I think that's tied for either 5th or 6th in the league. That's. I'm happy with that. It's good that we can argue which one is playing better versus arguing which one is not living up to expectations.
Which one was the worst signing?
Duane, how are you feeling about those 2?
About Rafa and
Georgie. I mean,
And
and kind
Georgie?
of compare to like where you've thought about them versus what you're thinking now versus like, should we have seen it the whole time?
I'll start with Georgie. I don't think he's there yet. And I mean that as a compliment.
Right.
Because I like where Georgie's at. Like, I think he's doing DP things. He's really starting to... It seems like his light is starting to shine over the last couple of games. And the good news is I don't think he's at Georgie level yet. So I think by the end of the season and sooner, obviously, than the last game, we're going to see him start to reach, Georgie level, which to me is higher than where he is now. And again, that I mean that as a positive. So I'm very encouraged by where he's at right now, especially in the sense that I don't think he's there yet. And he's already like doing great things for the club. Not just like what's happening on the pitch, but we talk about it in the post game. I love the fact that he's pissed, like visually.
Yeah.
His, everything about his posture and everything. Like, if we don't get 3 points, like that dude is pissed, and like you need one of those guys on the squad. Like Diego was one of those guys. It's just
called dog.
Yeah, and you need that
you
kind
need
of
a whole
fury.
Bag of it.
Yeah, you do. So I have nothing but excitement for where he's gonna be, not just where we are now, but like it's because I have that anticipation of like this is cool right now, but gosh, like he's starting to build. It's like in Dragon Ball where it's like 20 minutes of him going, bro, and he's just still doing that.
Wait, hang on. What is it?
He's going, and his hair's starting to float. The rocks are coming up off the ground, and so we're about 10 minutes through that Dragon Ball Z, and so we got 10 more minutes of him to like go full on Super Georgie, and so I'm looking forward to that. Rafa, I could not be more happy to be so wrong about a Colorado Rapids player. Like I've been the most critical of him last year for certain, even the beginning of this year, because he does so many good things on the ball, delivering the ball, doing things that I don't need a 9 to do. But now that Georgie is on the scene, doing those things that he's been doing as far as getting the ball to the right folks, the wingers, there's still some things to work out on the wings, but even the wingers, compared to what Rafa was dealing with last year, are starting to deliver the ball, get it on his foot. And so we still see him playing good soccer, but now we're starting to see him score goals, and a lot of them. And that was like my big beef. It's like, it's cool that he can do all these good things, but what I need to see is him scoring goals. Well, now he's scoring goals, so it's time for me to shut the F up, because it's like, he just punched me in the mouth, with that. So I'm like, cool. Like, I'm going to shut up now and let you do your thing. It's time to pay him, just pay him, give him the bag. Give Palmares the bag, and let's just move forward and have our striker.
We were hoping, right? Like, hey, can you buy that down? Maybe he's not a DP.
Yeah,
maybe
and that would be great, but I don't care anymore.
But like at this point, like, why would you? Like, he has proven himself. You need to be a club that rewards guys for the great effort that they put out there. And if you don't give Rafa that DP tag at this point, it feels like you're not one of those clubs. As much as we would love that extra U22 spot, those extra $2 million in GAM or whatever, or the club would love it. I don't really care as much. It's not going to happen if you want to keep winning.
Yep.
If you want to keep winning, you need a guy like Rafa on the team, because you need goals, especially the way that the team has been operating as of late. Like, they have not been able to stop anybody. What is it, 2 clean sheets in the year, I think, so far for Zach and the defense?
Yep.
That's not a good sign. You need goals to win these games.
Yep.
And without Rafa, we haven't seen much production from other people. Cole has been doing a really good job, but Cole can't do everything. Cole can't try to control that midfield and come up and try to score every time. Yeah. So I agree with you. Like, he has completely earned that tag, and now the Rapids need to pay the piper.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's okay. 4.5 is not that much to pay.
Yeah. And
that's the thing.
Yeah, it's really
not. It's a freaking bargain. Just cut the check.
You just paid
a bargain.
You just paid $100 million for Declan Rice.
$125 million for Declan Rice.
$125 million for Declan Rice. You can spare $4.5 million for.
It's nothing.
For Rafa.
For 12 goal contributions in 16 games.
You have to.
Come on.
And the other thing is, man, like, going back to Georgie.
Sorry, 17 games, 16 starts. Go ahead.
Going back to Georgia a little bit, Duane is completely right about him powering up right now.
Finally.
Yeah,
First
like,
time. I said something right.
I just
We're going to clip right there. Clip right there.
I've been watching Dragon Ball Z lately, where he goes, and like, that's why the 20-minute reference killed me, because it's like, like, but the whole thing with Georgie, man, you're right. Like, we kind of forget also, he was expecting a child at the beginning of the season. He had that child, and that's kind of kind of focusing a little bit more after injury.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
a lot of stress.
I mean, children are hard, and you see it, and like Juaner's pointed out, there's not a lot of connection between Rafa and Georgie, but I think you'll get there. When two
Yeah, I
guys are
think so
playing
too.
good, eventually they'll find the connection, especially when Rafa already has connections with a Cole. You've seen it when they score. They go look for each other and they celebrate. You see it with Omir. They're always talking. Even Cabral and Rafa from across the pitch, they're looking at each other. They're telling each other where to go, where I'm going to be at next time. They're playing off each other. I think that Mihailovic and Rafa connection is eventually going to get there. Again, it's their first season playing together.
Yep.
I think it'll eventually get there. There's a language barrier between those two guys too. It's easier with an Omir and Rafa because they at least understand Spanish. They can talk a little bit more to each other. Cabral and Rafa have been playing for 2 years now together. A year and a half, almost a year. Like they've known each other a little bit longer than Georgie and Rafa. So give it time. It's gonna get there.
Yeah.
We never expected the first season to be perfect.
Right.
It takes time to get chemistry, and I think they're eventually going to get there. We just have to keep this squad together, especially because it's so young. They have time to work things out and get to the point we need them to be a true MLS contender. With a few adjustments, a few added pieces here and there, I think this team could really become something special.
Yep.
He's assisted twice, Georgie to Rafa versus San Jose at home and Minnesota at home.
And he also got the hockey
One of those was on a
assist.
corner, and then he has another hockey assist.
Well, no, like the hockey
Yeah.
assist that he got, the Rafa hockey assist from Rafa to Kamani to.
Yep.
Which, again, it's not direct, but either way, like, you can tell that they're playing off a little bit.
ball's
Here's a
moving.
question
Yeah.
I have, and I keep seeing this. Rafa on a TAM contract is best case. Well, of course it is. Why
Yeah.
on earth would his agent accept that?
Yeah.
He's a freaking top 5 goal scorer.
Yeah.
There was a chance.
In
but
what
that,
world would he be like, sure, I'll take a lower contract than the DP contract my guy is on now, as he's balling out of control? There's no way. Just sign it and be done with it. The Rapids don't, to me, in my mind, do not have the sway or the cachet or the
parlay?
The swag.
you know what I mean? They don't have the respect on that badge
Yeah.
to say, actually, you can take a discount to play for us.
They don't got the history.
I'm sorry, they just don't.
Yeah.
And we love the Pids. We bleed burgundy here, but come on, we have to be realistic here. That's a guy you give a DP tag to. Give him that 4.5. Lock him in.
I'm all for it. And I think
Just straight up.
also with Georgie and him, man, I just think you're in a way better spot with your DPs than you've been in a long time. And if Kevin Cabral can kind of live up to that with a year left on his contract after this year, like, it's worth it in my opinion. It's worth the gamble for at least one more year.
I just don't think his agent's gonna not go for anything less than $1.5 million for the year.
Yeah.
Why would he?
It makes no sense.
That's not a TAM contract, right? You can't. TAM's what, maxed at
I have no idea. You're asking.
800 or
I'm not a math
900?
guy.
I don't know what a max TAM is, but it is a dramatic difference.
And then if you get him enough, you could probably buy him down eventually and still keep
Yeah.
giving him his contract. So, at the end of the day, I think Rafa needs to stay with the squad because of the goals that he has scored. Have they all been pretty? No, but they're getting to the back of the net, and that's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. I just don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Like, not in this case.
We're waiting on you, Mitch.
what?
You're waiting on you. You're the next one that comes.
Oh, yeah. Well, now I'm just thinking about this so much. Warner says it's not a lower contract, but I feel like, I don't know.
I think he's talking about you get him a DP, then you buy him out.
Oh, well, yeah.
I think that's what he means.
Yeah. I mean, that would be great.
Or buy him down, not out.
It's very easy to say all this in a vacuum as fans and as podcasters. It's a lot harder to get the agent and the player and the other team to go along with it when he's performing like he is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's kind of where my point is on all this. Okay. Homegrowns. How are we feeling about the homegrowns? Tough to feel anything but good, right? This could be a pretty quick one.
When you have a guy like Seb and a guy like Ollie and Cole and even Sam that's been stepping up lately, it's kind of hard to like really knock them down that much. It's all good. Like, I'm happy.
Seb has looked good in his one real game. Jackson Travis looked good in his one real game. What?
Yappy's not having a great homegrown year.
Great point.
But
I don't want to be.
baby.
I don't want to be the downer on there.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
It's only because I want him to do better. But I'm not. A lot of people on Twitter and in our own chat here, not today, but on post game, everybody wants to see Yappy do well. Maybe it's a USL loan, and which I agree with. Like, I'd be on board for that. Let him develop, but
maybe trade him out for Remy. Put him in Phoenix, bring Remy back.
Bring Remy back and have Yappy go down to Rising.
Yeah.
I'm down.
That's the way we do it.
I like that.
But again, homegrowns are pretty much...
They're in good shape.
90% it's positive with them. Especially because they're low contract. You came through the academy. You didn't spend any money on them. Like, that's the kind of team that the Rapids have to be. If they want to be successful, they can be a team. They're not a team that goes out and buys a lot of stuff. They have to be the developmental kind of squad. They need to bring in guys from the bottom up, be a piece for the team going forward, and that's maybe makes the money going down the line as well.
So I'm reading about Tam. There's too much to know about these dumb things.
We can forget about.
I hate it.
The MLS rules are where they are.
It's horrible.
It is what it is. That's why I don't concern myself with all that, because it's too much math.
I always took like max Tam, but I think when we were talking max Tam, we were talking about like the giving the rest of the available Tam budget. Right?
Yeah.
But there is no max Tam.
Yeah.
So
I think it's just the threshold of how much you can pay.
There's 2.7 million in a pot that you can use. However you want to use that, whether to buy down.
Well, the chat is saying it's a
max.
cap space issue. It's not a dollar issue. And I believe that because I don't know anything about Garber bucks and all of that.
You can reduce the amount of designated player costs against the cap down to $150,000 with it.
Yeah. And you could definitely do that. I think it has to be like, what was it? 1.5 till you can buy them down or something like that.
Yeah.
It's the max that.
It's like it's like $100,000 below what Darlington Nagby makes.
Yeah.
That made the crew so mad last summer. Okay. Let's switch gears here a little bit, guys. Changes that you want to see going forward. Coming back from the break. Armas is sitting at home. Maybe he's on a beach. Hopefully. He deserves at least a little vacation. Comes back, refreshed, ready to go. Makes a change in the rotation. What's that change you want to see? Yaya, you're up first.
J. Lou out and another winger. Whether you bring another winger in from overseas, you buy him in, you bring him in, or you just give those minutes to Kamani Stewart-Baines. I know he's struggling with some injuries, but that's kind of what I would like the most. I just want a different winger rotation, somebody that we can trust a little bit more, an actual difference maker. I think that's the most important part. And also the Ronan minutes. I think you got to figure out that Ronan's not a true 8, that he's more of that 10 kind of guy. And I think that would make the team a lot better. I think that would give the team more flexibility in the final third of the match. And I think that's the way, if you're trailing, you have to go there. But I also would like to see another midfielder come in that's a disruptor, what Jack was supposed to be.
Yeah.
A guy that can get the ball and run and just go, go, go. You need one of those guys on here, too, in case you are up, that you can just put him in there and he's going to help you win the game.
I'm going to put a pause on this real quick.
Go ahead. Do what you got to do.
As we do go on, we need to talk about DNVR events. This isn't friends outside. This is friends right here. The call is coming from inside the office. And it's events. We got a ton of stuff coming up with DNVR. Broncos road trip to Tampa to watch Broncos Bucks. You're going to Clearwater Beach. We're having a boat party. We're hanging out with Broncos alumni. Tailgate, transportation, everything, all through our friends at True Fan Travel. That one's kind of tough to say. Quickly.
True Fan Travel?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of tongue twister.
But anyways, they're the best. We've done trips with them before. We're going to do more trips with them, including buffs to Nebraska, to Lincoln. to watch some Buffs and Huskers. Buffskers.
I wouldn't do
hate
that.
Yeah, RK's gonna be mad about that one. That one, the hotel is literally steps from the gates at the stadium.
The one hotel that Nebraska has.
The one hotel in all of Nebraska. That's gonna be awesome. I will be cruising on that one. So all of these are available at DNVR/events. We have a Rapids takeover coming up against St. Louis, July 7th. C30, you get a C38 pass, bus from here, game ticket, free beers on the bus, all sorts of fun stuff. Obviously, C38 does the best tailgate in the world. We want to get DNVR listeners to that, to have some fun before a game against hopefully a winnable game. So make sure to check that out. And we also have our golf event, the Midsummer Open at Broken Tee. Super fun, 4-person scramble. I have so much fun at these events.
Yeah.
The golf. Duane will run some games, cruise around on his golf cart.
I like golf carts.
Yeah, golf carts are
They're
off.
fun.
Yeah.
We almost hit a bunker.
Yaya and I
over.
almost went off a cliff last time I was
That
driving.
was kind of fun.
All sorts of stuff to do with that. We got games, and our sponsors are out at the holes. You get a bunch of free stuff, free beers, free drinks, free all sorts of stuff, prizes, everything. So super fun. Check that out, DNVR Sports or the DNVR.com/events. Make sure to check that out. And yeah, DNVR events.
I'm all for it.
Summer and fun coming up. All right, we're back. DNVR Rapids. Yeah, Duane. Mitch hanging out. Learn about Tam and Gam today.
It's gamming it up.
Tam, super annoying. Wish I didn't have to learn about that.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
The rules do make for a funner league. I will say that.
Yeah, of course. It makes it for a more random league.
Yeah, that's why I don't watch the Premier League as often, if I'm honest.
Well, they have all these rules too.
Nobody follows them.
Well, City definitely doesn't follow them.
Nobody.
Well, no, but I mean, they have international roster slots,
Yeah, but
academy
not-
slots.
But I'm talking more contracts and who you can bring in and
Sure,
how
sure,
much
sure.
you can spend. I think that makes for a lot funner league.
It's
And
interesting that people just don't pay. Like, why do they matter so much more in the MLS when they exist across leagues?
because of the cap situation, that you got to
Yeah.
be smarter with who you bring in.
Well, and the GAM and stuff, yeah.
Exactly.
Not being able to just use money as a total. Okay.
Also, shout out Steven, first time watching live. Shout out, man. We appreciate you very much. It's always good to catch a live show.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in. I mean, everyone's in the chat today. It's good to see Judge Jim, Crash, Mark, Wanners. Kevin was in there earlier. Steven.
Everybody
El
drop a
Pelon.
like.
Yeah, drop a like while you're in here, too. It goes a long way for us. Yeah, definitely appreciate it. All right, we're back. We're talking rotation. Who we want to see? I agree on the winger one.
Another one was Ronan. They got to figure out the Ronan minutes, because I do think Ronan is a viable piece, but I hate him at the 8. He drops back and doesn't help defensively.
But he drops back, but then doesn't help.
Exactly.
It's like, what are you doing?
Tackling is a little
Like,
rough.
I'm driving a car without wheels. Why? Like, what's the point? Like, but like, Ronan to me is such a head scratcher, because I can see the talent in him. I can see what he can bring to a team, but he just doesn't bring it defensively, and that just frustrates me. Ronan is not the type of player that I usually enjoy watching. For that one reason, he's not even sometimes positioned correctly, because you don't have to be a great tackler. You can just be an interceptor, be in the right spot at the right time, cut out passing lanes, and he doesn't do a lot of that sometimes. And that's the biggest frustration I have with Ronan. That's why I like to see him a little up more as a 10. Bring him up as a winger. We need to find a different spot for him, because that double pivot just doesn't work with him back there.
14th percentile in tackles, 22nd in interceptions, 17th in blocks, 28th in clearances, 2nd percentile in aerials, 1.
That aerials one, I'm not that surprised.
He's kind of tiny. He's a
Yeah.
short king. Not a lot of aerials to be won.
Yeah.
But, he's 97th percentile in assists and expected assists. Non-penalty XG plus expected assisted is 86th percentile. He's 88th in shot creating actions, 95th in passes attempted. When he's out there, the offense is obviously boosted by his presence. But you're right. We're playing these guys that are bad defensively because there's a lot of redundancy. And you have to not have a defensive presence in midfield to fit them all out there.
Yeah.
And that's a problem, right? Like, who do you drop to put in there?
And it's also like Bombi does a lot of things that he does in that area too, and playing out of the back and creating. And it does take a little bit of the Bombi opportunity away too. So you would like to see him push up a little bit more and be a receiver more than be the guy creating the play from the very back. And because I do like what Bombi brings offensively too. Bombi does bring a lot of energy, and he does bring a lot of patience when creating out of the back, which helps out a team that's still trying to figure out where they're supposed to be at times. With Ronan, I think that spot gets kind of taken up, and then you just have like a very solidified back four, which is fine. But you also need Bombi to, when Bombi's engaged offensively, you've seen it defensively as well. You have to be engaged the whole game, or you kind of do fall off a little bit. And you've seen it with Bombi the last couple of games, not because of Ronan, but because offensively he just hasn't been there as well. He hasn't been that playmaker that we usually are used to when playing at.
What do you think about the center back rotation right now? Because you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose Bombi for the Copa.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he's gonna be gone for
A month.
yeah.
If Canada goes that far.
Boo, Canada! Bring back Bombi.
Boo for Bombi.
But Wander's had a good point. I thought Lawless looked pretty good.
Yeah.
You're a Lawless guy.
I am a Lawless guy. Lawless has been the center back for years. So, yeah, I'm totally comfortable with Lawless being the guy when Bombi's out. I think that's why Lawless is on the roster, is to literally play that position. So that's it for that combo for me. Like I feel good about Lawless coming in when Bombi's out. If there's an injury to Maxu or Lawless and Bombi's out, then I'm a little worried. But as it stands right now, I think we're good.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a high contract what Lawless is on right now.
He's like $700,000.
Yeah, like that is like, but also you're not paying Bombi, so it kind of evens out a little bit. You have that GA contract with Bombi, so at the end of the day, it does hop out quite a bit. And I think Lawless is a super serviceable piece. If
Sure.
you need to bring him in the last 10 minutes to just be a block god, he'll do that. Like, he'll just throw his body on the line. Honestly, I put him at keeper too. Dude is willing to do anything to keep the ball out of the net. And that's why I do like what Lawless brings, because he does have that passion. He's a dog. Like, he is that dog that we talk about Georgie with. Like, and that's what you need on the defensive side. And that's kind of something that you've missed the last few games with Bombi and Maxu. And it might be that they're just tired. It might just be that,
Sure.
like, hey, man, we need a break. And maybe that's why Bombi got the rest last game. But it does take a little bit of that, hey, we just need to focus on these last 10 minutes and try to keep the ball away from us as much as we can.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of what other rotation questions are. Yeah, I was really concerned about the outside back depth, right? Because Seb has been involved since 2017, 16. Like, we've seen a lot of Seb. And it hasn't really been, is it good enough that he is your third choice outside back?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's looked pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. Yeah. Right? Like,
I've always liked that, man.
me too.
He does feel a little Keegan-like sometimes.
Yeah.
He does have that same kind of style of play. And I really do like that. I also like that Armas is trusting the young guys to carry the rotation back there. And I think that's just confidence in trying to build a team up from the bottom up, not just trying to bring in players and spend a bunch of money on everybody.
And then you wonder, say someone gets hurt for an extended period of time. Is Jackson Travis good enough to be your third at that point?
You have Miguel Navarro on loan. Recall him.
You could
Screw it.
recall Navarro. You're right. I didn't even think about that.
Which I doubt that happens because it's a handshake agreement.
Right,
But
yeah.
regardless.
But I thought he looked very good as well.
Yeah.
I mean, very good might be a stretch, but he wasn't bad.
Yeah.
He was not a negative, which to me is about as good as you can hope for.
From
when it
what, an
comes to-
18-year-old?
Yeah, for a young, inexperienced outside back. He has all the speed in the world. Yeah, he's so I'm not. The rotation to me isn't necessarily the problem, right? Like, that Cabral, Amir, Rafa, that's your starting up top. Great. You're probably going to rotate Ronan and Ollie.
Yeah.
Cole, Georgie, they're not going anywhere. Your backline's not going anywhere. Steffen's not going anywhere. Just stop putting J-Lu in.
Honestly,
Stop it.
It's another winger that needs to be in the
Yeah.
rotation, and not just J-Lo,
Well,
just
I mean,
in general.
And I mean, it's not just Jonathan Lewis. And you guys know I'm a huge Ronan guy. And probably the whole chat hates that, but like I'll stand on it. It's just Ronan had a lot of fans last year. He doesn't have a lot of fans this year. I'm still a big Ronan guy, but I think it's very similar to what we saw with Cole last year. Cole and everybody else was convinced that Cole was a 10, and he's not. I mean, he can be, but that's not where he thrives. And the formation that Armas has created with Ollie and Cole has really enabled Cole to be Cole Bassett and develop into a player that can play both ways and contribute to both sides. Ronan came in from England, from Wolverhampton, when Jack Price was here, and everybody said he's the next Jack Price. He's not. They don't play anything at all similarly. And so last year he was pigeonholed into that position. And I don't think that's really his position. And so now, because that's what he did last year, they're trying to shove him into that double that they run with Ollie and Cole. And that's not working at all. So I don't think we found the right position yet for Ronan, but I think it's where he comes on as a sub, until we figure that out. And I do think that there's room for formation changes. A lot of people, we talk about how successful, and we only have one game really to look at it, but that 4-4-2 was successful.
Yeah.
And it looked really good. And I think when you switch up that formation, it opens up positions for players like Ronan to find a place where he's successful versus forcing it into what we have, the usual Armas position. So it's all it's not just one guy being bad at a position. It's also figuring out the formation to make that work. And Cole Bass was the best example of that. Like I've never seen this formation from the Rapids that I can remember. And now we're running it out, and you look at Cole Bass is thriving in it. There might be something that works for Ronan or whatever.
I like the idea of putting
second
him in that kind of Omir, Calvin Harris, pickle winger that started up there, right? Put him up there kind of how you had Georgie starting the season.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was Georgie, Cole, Cabral starting.
I hated that so. I love Georgie on the left.
Right?
Georgie on the left. I just didn't like Cole at the 10.
But when we moved it around, slide one. Oh, Cole's actually good in the double pivot. Great. That puts Georgie in the middle. Where do you put Ronan? You can't take Ollie off. He's been too good. Right? And so slide Ronan up top. I love that. I mean, his passing is great. His crossing is great. I mean, his expected assists are, if we're talking top 90-something percentile.
Yeah.
Put him, that is where you need that passing, because that's where it's been the worst for 2 seasons now, 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, and look at Cabral too, man. Cabral plays exactly the same as Ronan. They come all the way back, but they don't put in that last tackle. They kind of get lost in that defensive third sometimes, where they're they see the ball and they're like, I don't want to foul, so I just kind of let them go by me.
I would say Cabral does. Cabral gets a lot of fouls lately.
The last couple games he has. But, that's what Cabral's kind of thing was, too. He ran all the way back. He just didn't put in that last tackle.
Yeah.
And that goal against LAFC was, the perfect example.
True.
He was right there, and he just let him kind of shoot it. If you put Ronan up there, you can have him in that inverted winger spot, or he comes in and kind of becomes that double 10 with Mihailovic, and then you can just bring in Sammy Vines all the way up, and he can be your winger. And then you're going to get support from Ronan. He might not be the best defensively, but he's going to be there and be an extra body, which is kind of what you need from a winger. You don't need him to be a full-on defender at times.
He's at his best when he's distributing the ball.
Exactly.
So it's how do we find a place for him offensively to distribute the ball where someone else can cover for him where he's not so great at defense.
Exactly, and that's why I think, and I've also liked what I've seen from Jasper. I think he has been a disruptor. I think he's done.
That's what I want to see. More Jasper.
He's been a guy that has been a disruptor. Now you just need another guy that you can rotate him in and out with Ollie and Cole. That can be your defensive mids that can just come in and be a pain in the ass.
We know it's not Lamine. We'll get into that next episode.
Yeah.
We know it's not Lamine. This is a good place to leave it, actually, because I think we can really talk about that midfield rotation next week. Because we do got to be getting out of here. Should we announce our guest for next week?
I think it's fine if we do.
Do it.
For Thursday, we'll have our regular Wednesday show.
With another special guest, hopefully.
With another special guest, hopefully working on that. Might be the week after for that. But then Thursday, for the third consecutive season, Pork Smith will be on this show Thursday afternoon next week. I believe that's 1 p.m. Does that sound right?
I think so.
Sounds right to me.
I trust you.
We'll have graphics up on our Twitter account, so check that out. But yeah, the boss will be back. We can ask some questions, kind of look ahead to that summer window, kind of look back at some of the moves there. It's fun to have him on. It's kind of cool that he's willing to do that so often. Right? I mean,
Bring your questions in the chat.
bring your questions in the chat. It's going to be a good time. And then, we'll announce if we get our other guy. We've been working on it for a long time. So
We'll see.
hopefully we get there. Let's get plugged out of here, guys.
DNV_Rapids on Twitter. Follow us there. We'd really appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and give us a 5-star review wherever you hear this podcast. It's a lot of fun to do this, so the more support you show us, the more we can do this.
Duane?
Back to you, Mitch.
All right. Become a diehard at thednvr.com. You get behind the paywall. You get sorts of content. You get into the Discord. Almost said diehard channels, but it's Discord channels for diehards. You get discounts on all sorts of fun stuff, including your bar tab right down there for these Copa watch parties coming up. That's going to be super fun. And it supports us. Jesus Christ.
Catch me at the Mexico King tonight. If you guys are out there, hit me up and we can meet up and have a couple of brewskis.
Mile High?
Yeah.
I might look for a ticket for that.
Versus Uruguay.
Uruguay.
I was trying to simple it for you guys. It's Uruguay.
I
Uruguay.
appreciate it.
Uruguay. I was trying to make you guys understand my
Is that
language.
Darwin Nunez? Is he Uruguay?
I don't know if he's going to play, but I think Fernandez might be here too.
There you go.
So we'll see. We'll see. It'll be fun regardless. Araujo, I think, is here too.
Ooh.
So,
That would be fun.
yeah. Santi Jimenez.
Hit Guy up on the tweet machine.
Yep.
And meet up and watch some ball tonight. That'll be fun. More important than all that, we'll see you next week. Up the Pids.
We all silly like the mayor.